Hello and welcome to the channel. On today's tutorial, I'll be sharing with you a requested video of how to make an asymmetric Edwardian corset. So if it's your first time viewing my channel, please hit on the subscribe button, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for supporting my channel. So let's start.
Now this is my pattern, and to cut out for the cup part, I went ahead to add 1/2 inch round on this part and I cut out 2 pieces. So for the center part, I also placed my pattern and I cut out and I added 1/2 inch round. So going over to the body of the dress, I went ahead to place my pattern, and when I was placing it, I made sure it was facing up, and I went ahead to add 1/2 inch on this part round. Do not add by the side, you've added your sewing allowance. So I went ahead to add 1/2 inch round also on this pattern, because we're going to be joining up this pattern, and for this I added 1/2 inch on this part. Do not add on the sides because you've already added it. So now this is the lining piece, and I went ahead to iron gum stay on it. So when you're cutting out, this is the right side. Make sure the wrong side of the lining and the wrong side of your main fabric is matching, so to avoid cutting wrong pieces for each side, make sure the wrong side of the fabric is facing the part that has the gum stay. So, and also on this part, you can notice that this is the right side and the wrong side is also facing the wrong side of the lining. So now I'm going to stitch up this with 1/2 inch. Whatever I do here, I'm also going to do it to my lining. So I'm done joining with 1/2 inch on both sides, and this is also what I have. And if I place it on it, this is what it is looking like. Now we're going to create a boning channel on it, and I've cut out my piece of 1.5 inches. I'll go ahead, stitch with 1/2 inch, fold in with 1/2 inch, and I'm going to top stitch. I'll create on this joining to cover it, and also create on the sides, so you can go ahead and create more boning channel. So after I'm done sewing, this is what I have. And now we are going to work on the cup. So I went ahead to recut another piece because I wanted to use black material just like we have on the thumbnail. Now this is my wording I have cut out, and I'm going to place an iron. So if you are using an already made cup, you're going to go ahead to stitch your cup first before ironing your gum stay to it. So I'm going to go ahead to iron my wording, and I'll stitch with 1/2 inch, and on this other part I'll repeat the same process. If you have any excess, please cut it out. So I'm done stitching up my cup, and I've notched it and ironed it out with my tailor's ham. Next, I'm going to be attaching my cup to the body of the corset. So I'm going to place it. You notice where we joined this cup at the center. I'm going to take where I joined this cup and place it together, stitch with 1/2 inch, and also stitch with 1/2 inch on this side. So if your cup is bigger than what you have, please notch the body of your corset to accommodate it. So now I'm done stitching, and this is what I have. This is the yoke for the dress. So I cut out a single yoke piece. I didn't add 1/2 inch on the neckline. I added on the lower part and at the shoulder part for joining allowance. Now you're going to place and stitch with 1/2 inch till you get to the end. So you can as well pin it down. So after stitching, this is what I have. I'm not going to notch it yet because I'm going to place this to stitch. So I've done this over to this side, and I'll place, so on that sewing allowance, that 1/2 inch you use in joining your yoke, stitch on that line directly. And on the other side also, I'm going to place and stitch on that same line. So after I'm done stitching, I'm going to go ahead to notch, and now you're going to flip it this way to stitch the side, and you're also going to go ahead to stitch this side with 1/2 inch. So I'm done stitching, and this is what I have. As you can see, it's looking very neat. And if you have any question concerning anything, please leave your question at the comment section. So after this, we're going to go ahead and stitch the back pattern of this dress. So now we're going to start from the lower part, and this is what I have. I added ½ inch at this point, and also at this part I added ½ inch for joining allowance. Do not add ½ inch to the zipper allowance. So I'm going to go ahead and launch my pattern so that I'm going to know the part that I'm supposed to join with ½ inch. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up this way, and I will place my pattern ready for joining. So go ahead and place it, and you're going to stitch with ½ inch. So I'll go ahead and create a boning channel at the back after I'm done. So this is the back pattern, and this is what it is looking like. I've gone ahead to create the boning channel on it. So the next step we're going to work on right now is to work on the upper part, and whatever I did on the main fabric I also did on the lining part of this dress.
So next, I will be introducing the yoke of the dress, which I'll be turning with my lining. So I'm not going to add gum stay to this. You can go ahead to use a mesh also at the back of your dress. So I added ½ inch round at the neckline and at the joining shoulder, at the shoulder. So I didn't add by the sides of the sleeve because I've already added that while I was drafting it out. So I'm going to place it this way, and after stitching I'm going to attach it to the back this way. So I've gone ahead to do that because that is where we cut out the neckline from. So now I'm going to be attaching the back of the dress the lining of the dress to it this way, and I'm going to be stitching it with ½ inch. So go ahead and place it, and you're going to stitch with ½ inch to turn it round. So I have turned the back, and this is what I have. Next thing I'm going to do is just to place it, and I'll stitch up the zipper allowance of the dress this way. So this is it. I've gone ahead to stitch up the zipper allowance, and I'm going to introduce the front part this way, and with that I'm going to use it to trace out the waistline. So that is why I didn't cut out my back. I was going to use my front to trace it out. So after tracing it out, this is what I have. So right, I've gone ahead, I'm just going to go ahead to open up my back just to show you what it looks like. And this is the skirt pattern, and I went ahead to use it to cut out my back pattern, and this is what I have. So what I'm going to do is just to go ahead and stitch it up. So I've gone ahead to stitch up my skirt just the same way I said, and this is the back of the dress. I've stitched it back. What you're going to do now is, remember on one side of this we came down by 1.5 inches from the waistline, and when we were measuring our skirt on this part, after 17 inches when we were drafting our skirt, we came down by 1.5 inches. That's 1.5 inches. So to place my skirt, I'm going to make sure this part and this part is meeting. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and measure what I have here. That I have here to here. So that's 10.7, and I'm going to make sure I have 10.7 here. So when I'm placing my skirt, I'll make sure that skirt is at that 10.7 also. So why I'm doing this is that all the measurements will align when you're cutting out. So make sure these lines are straight and your skirt is at that point. So let me go ahead. So when you place it and it's at that 10.7 this way, when you place it and you make sure here is at that 10.7, all you're going to do is to mark out your skirt. Sorry, I don't really have chalk. So this is what you're going to be cutting out for this part of the skirt, and I'll just mark like a bit of 0.3 0.5 inches as joining allowance at the waistline, because we also added joining allowance to this other part. So what you're going to do now is you're going to go ahead to cut this out. This is what I have at the back waistline. So that part we cut out, this part of this dress will be replaced in it this way. So it will be replacing it. So that part we cut out, we're going to, this part now has replaced that part of the fabric, that part of the skirt that we cut out. So that's why we cut it out. So I'm just going to loosen this and attach my skirt to the back. So after loosening it, I'm just going to go ahead and join it with 1/2 inch, and I'm going to attach my zipper and create a slit at the back of the dress. So after I'm done stitching the back, this is what I have. We'll be moving over to front. So now I'll be using the same skirt pattern, but I went ahead to add another piece to it, making a full skirt. So I just sellotaped one part and cut out the shape I have at one end. Sorry. So I'm going to take my front pattern and I'm going to place it on it this way. So remember, we traced out the waistline of the back. We're going to still repeat it for the front. So I'm going to measure what I have on one side of the skirt, just like I did. So that's 10.7 inches, and I'm going to go ahead to trace it out. So as you can notice, you will see that I have a black mark on one part of this dress. So that is where I have the 10.5 inches, and I'll add few inches for joining allowance for the skirt at the front. So right, I've cut this out and I'm going to use this to cut out my skirt. So if you want to add a little ruffle on it at the end, at the upper part, you're just going to measure few inches, like 6 inches, that you're going to fold back. So this is it. I have cut out my skirt. So if you want to add few inches, you're just going to, if you want to create a ruffle, you're going to add few inches this way, and you're going to go ahead to stitch it down just to create that ruffle effect at that point. So after stitching it, this is what I have. But for the skirt pattern I don't want to add a ruffle to it, so I'll just go ahead and cut it out, and I'm going to attach it to my skirt. So this is it. After I'm done cutting it out, I cut out that part for the ruffle because I won't be needing it. So the next thing is to pass my boning. So for the back pattern, I went ahead to also add my boning to that part. Sorry, I didn't show it. I forgot to video that. So I'm just going to go ahead to pass all my boning to all my boning channels. So I'm using a Reginin boning, that's the soyebu boning, but I'm using the smaller size of it. As you can notice, the boning channel is also smaller. So I'm just going to go ahead and pass it all through it, and after that I'm going to fold my skirt, and I'm going to get the center of the skirt and I'll place it at the center of the Reginin boning. I'll go ahead and stitch it up. After stitching it up, this is what I have. I'll place the back, and I'm going to go ahead to turn the shoulder. So I'll put the neckline of the front in between the neckline of the back, and I'm going to go ahead to stitch with 1/2 inch. On the other side also, I'm going to repeat the same process, place the neckline for the front in between, and I'm going to go ahead to stitch with 1/2 inch. So after doing it, I'm going to turn it to the right side. So after I'm done stitching, this is what I have, and I've gone ahead to cut out my sleeve already. All I'm going to do right now is to attach it. So I have a video on how to cut out the sleeve. You can check that out on my channel. So right, I'll just place it at the center, and I'm going to stitch with 1/2 inch all through the way, and I'm going to repeat it at the other side of the dress. So now this is my dress, and I've gone ahead to attach the sleeve. What I'm going to do next is to place my tape at my underbust. My shoulder to underbust is 12 inches. I'll mark it, mark my waistline, which is 17 inches. Then from that underbust, I'm going to go ahead to get, from my waistline I'll mark 7 inches down for my hip, and from that under bust I'll go ahead and mark my bust, my shoulder to bust, which is 9. Go down and mark my my hip, which is 7 inches after my hip. So now you're going to go ahead to insert all your body circumference at the bust, at the under bust, at the waist, and at the hip line. So, and take your measurement down. So after stitching, this is what I have. Please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, leave your comment, or if you have any question concerning this, please leave it at the comment section. See you in our next video. Thanks.